good girl. I'll take you out afterwards, okay? You good girls.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday or Monday to our friends in the future. I know there are a few out there. It's lovely to see you all. Today I am joined by the enthusiastic shaker of fists, Sir Zach. Now, I do want to tangent immediately because you were just doing a stream with Joe over on your channel, Joe the Kentucky Atheist, another friend of the channel, and a thing that you guys said. First, I should preface. Today, I was having a really bad dysphoria day. I was feeling really awful about myself, and I felt doubly awful because times like that, you feel like you need some external validation, and you're not ever supposed to do that. You're supposed to get all your validation from totally inside, and not, if you're getting it all from the outside, then there's nothing within, yada, yada, yada. All that bullshit, all that static. And during the show, you and Joe both said that there were points where you almost walked away from YouTube, and people in the chat said the same thing. There were several people who were like, yeah, we almost all walked away, and I felt that too. I've had that moment a couple of times. And in everybody's case, in those moments, somebody came forward and said, you said something that made me think a certain way or feel differently or feel appreciated or whatever the case may be. And you realized you were making a difference. And so you stuck around. You decided to keep doing it. Yeah. And so in a kind of meta reverse validation way, it made me realize every human being needs external validation from time to time. That's a normal thing for humans to do. And so I just want to give you and Joe validation for that message. You made a difference. I still feel kind of but I don't feel so down on myself for that feeling of wanting external validation.
Hey, good. Well, hey, you shouldn't. We're social creatures. It's literally inbuilt into us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 1,000%.
You should never feel bad for it because it's literally how society works.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the mini rant out of the way, but I did want to put that first because it relates to what you said, and it's also kind of like my validation in your direction because it did make a difference for me. So kind of meta that way. But yeah, why don't you tell folks who you are, what you do, and all the fist shaking things?
The totally worst thing I'm not doing. I feel this is the shit I get bashed at. I make videos and I do streams and occasionally I make parody songs and I make fun of Christians mainly because it's easiest. I don't know what else to say. I'm terrible at this. This is the side of YouTube I hate. I'm like, I don't know what to say.
It's all good. It's all good. I actually usually try to do intros for my guests and sometimes they're great and other times so. I was just telling you before we went live, but I should tell everybody else, I am very unprepared because my internet was misbehaving. I spent almost that entire stream that Zach had Joe on trying to get my internet working. I had my laptop set up on my makeup table. That's why I haven't touched up my makeup. It's been the same all day, and it's just because I was trying to get the internet working. And so I don't have my notes. I don't have my usual list of questions. We're here, but that's about all I can say is we're here.
All I do is unprepared talks, so that's fine. If anybody ever thinks that if anybody that comes on my show and talks to me ever thinks that I prepare, I don't. I just say, I've seen a video, you seem all right, so let's chat, and then I just talk. So it doesn't matter. I'm a very unprepared guy. I only study against like sciencey things, so that's all right. I don't whatever.
Hey, improv makes for some fantastic entertainment as well.
It definitely does. It makes it more. To be honest, it makes the conversation better, because questions can sometimes evade what it's. I don't know. It's a weird thing I learned from Scrubs in a weird way, right? Do you ever watch Scrubs at all? Like there was.
Oh, yeah.
What's his face was in it? Fucking Brendan Fraser. And Brendan Fraser was a guy who liked to take photos of people, right? And he liked to take weird photos because he'd just take them randomly. Because he'd be like, people, if you got, and I see this like asking questions about people. If you're asking people for a photo, you're not getting what's going on in the moment, and you're not getting what the person is, and you're not getting what's going on. So like, I see that in a very similar way. Because like, I could ask people questions, but fuck them. Let's just chat about stuff. You know what I mean? Because like we both like debunking the same people and both stuff like that. You know what I mean? And talking about science and whatever. You know what I mean? So.
It's true. It's true. I do try to get to some things though, because part of the reason I do this is to introduce people to more of the community. Because like community's kind of my entire thing, right? Like yes, I can do the science talks, I can do the rants, and I try to have fun with it. I like to think the people who watch my videos have fun with it, but like building community, that is our strength. That's what makes us all better than religion. TM.
Well, that's the side I'm bad at. I'm terrible at community because I get awkward around people, and I'm good at knowing stuff and pointing out when stuff is wrong, and then people are like, hey, we should. If when it comes to community stuff, I guess I get super shy and bashful and awkward because I'm a dick.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that. Speaking of both shyness and community stuff, have you ever met Neil the 604 Atheist?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, I'll have to put you two in touch because he and Mikey Famine do a show that's like all about a get to know you kind of thing, but they've done so many of them. They are pros at putting people at ease and just helping them have a good time with it. And
yeah,
I don't get to go very often because they're down to just Saturday shows now. And they do it at the same time I do my debate review shows. So oof. Yeah. But I mean, they both do a fantastic job. And Mikey Famine will be on here a little later on. I forget which week off the top of my head, but he's coming. It'll be neat. But yeah, they're really good at that kind of thing. But as for here, I was hoping to get a little bit of background on like where you're coming from. Like, for example, on your stream earlier, you mentioned that you weren't always a Brit. You came from Maine, and I didn't know that before.
I'm still American, actually. I've lived here for 20 years, and my mum never sorted out my immigration when I came over. So I'm still American, and that's getting sorted out. So I'm still American through and through, baby. I've lived over here for 20. I got moved over in the year 2000. I moved over here in the year 2000 when I was 13.
Nice. So are you gonna vote in our upcoming clusterfuck? I mean election?
There's literally no point because there's no votes for overseas people, so like no electoral votes, so it's literally pointless.
Well, I mean registering can't be easy, and it's
more we're not counted in the electoral college, so what's the point?
I think you can get an absentee. Well, absentee would be like if you intend to come back, you know?
Yeah. I'm like, it's fucking, yeah.
Oh, Pragmatic is way ahead. Thank you, PC. Yeah, and also a link for Neil the 604 Atheist. Yeah, lots of good stuff. I see everybody in the live chat. Hello, folks. I'm so glad you're here. I tried to do some of the hellos while we were running the countdown. I see a lot of that purple. Very, very nice, very nice. Even at your worst, you are better than religion. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. Um, and also occasionally knowing stuff like Star Song. Hello,
Yeah.
and hello, Kimberly. Neil did a Lego stream yesterday. That's good to know. That's cool.
Pippin,
Um,
no.
yeah.
Sorry.
And Spooky Bed Hair says you're no Brit.
No, I'm not, thankfully. I just sound like it.
You're an illegal immigrant, a fake.
Yeah.
Would you say English person?
Yeah, I'm a fake English person, which is a shame. I'd prefer to be in Scotland, and I think everybody in the northern and most of the people in England would prefer to be in Scotland. But
And I can relate. Like I mean, I'm half Scottish on my grandmother's side, and half Irish and half Welsh. But
I'm 1/8 everything. My
Yeah.
family's like I've got Scottish, I've got Irish, I've got American Indian, Viking, Yugoslavian, and Polish. And I'm sure there's 2 others that I can't remember.
It's a variety pack. Yeah,
Oh my, yeah.
yeah.
I love saying that shit over here because people over in Britain, they don't understand. Everybody's from the same place, and everybody's family's been in the same place for like 3,000 years plus. And you go, hey, my family's from 16 places, and they go, that's just insane. Why would that be? You should be from the same place like us. Our family hasn't moved from this one town for 13,000 generations.
Do I've noticed not everybody does this because a lot of people in not just the UK but in Europe they do have like ancestral family lines and they're in the same village for generations. But a lot of Europeans can identify the nationality of other Europeans. Like Germans have a certain look to their orbital sockets in their nose and Polish people have a certain jawline and so forth. And we Americans are absolute crap at it because we're all mutts.
Yeah.
But do people look at you and get confused about your nationality?
No, they get it's about having so many because they're like, well, my family's been British since William the Conqueror in 1066. So what you can have other people in your family? That's weird. Because like Britain's weird with racism, right? Because like America's very out there with racism. It goes, fuck these people and fuck these people and fuck these people. Whereas Britain goes, hey, we are British, right? We're above all that. But did you know the French like eating frogs and the Germans are really weird and the Polish steal all our jobs? And Americans are fat and stupid. But it's accepted. It's not just that it's like everybody says it. It's like, well, no, if you don't agree with it, then you don't agree about real things in the world. It's like really ingrained over here. It's much weirder. Just a sec.
Yeah, I can imagine the culture gets a little curious.
There's a fly on the left.
I've never had a guest walk off on me before.
Sorry. My dog's a border collie, and she's seen like I have like light diffusers on my light, and there's a fly on it, and she's jumping up at it, and it will all go back.
That's fun. Yeah, I need to adjust my screen. Actually, is part of my lighting setup, and it's way too bright. I'm like ghostly right now, but I haven't had a chance to tinker with my settings. Yeah. Oh goodness, it's fun. So you came over to the UK when you were 13. Was there a reason for it? Like were your parents witches that needed to flee the burnings?
So my mom met a guy on the internet.
Oh, good.
And then she kidnapped me over here because I didn't want to come. I have a fun story. That's the thing. That's the thing. I don't. It's my story's fucked. That's why I don't go on about it that much because it's that messed up that people won't think it's real. So I don't have to talk about it that much.
Oh, that's relatable. I think we all have something in our lives. Although being kidnapped across international borders, that one's a little above and beyond. But most of us have something that we just don't talk about because no one would ever believe it.
Yeah. It's still going on now. And my immigration's only just been sorted because she didn't sort it to obfuscate the fact that she nicked me over here. So that's fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, she was a good Christian woman and she decided that my dad wasn't a good Christian man and then I needed to be with her because that's what good Christian people do.
Yeah, like that passage in the Bible, you will abduct the children from the nations around you.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Holy
like
crap.
she's my mom's like a crazy my mom's a crazy fundamentalist, and I mean like crazy fundamentalist, because she knew crazy Christian women, and then she came over here and then got convinced in like 2005 2007 something like that, that she could speak to the fucking dead. Sorry, am I allowed to
Oh.
swear? Because I swear like a sailor.
Yep. Current YouTube rules are you have to be 2 minutes in, I think, and we got half of that with just the countdown in the beginning, so we're fine.
No, that's fair enough. It's something I should have asked about first. I don't think about it. I grew up listening to George Carlin, so swearing is second nature to me. I don't see a problem in it. And then I forget some people can be against it, and I don't ask.
I don't understand why. Like that was the thing that always bugged me when I was little. Like,
Yeah.
my grandmother, I'd say, "Oh God," and she'd be like, "Don't take the Lord's name in vain." I'm like, "That's not his name. What are you talking about?"
Well, it's Jehovah, obviously. It's obviously Jehovah and not the one before it. It's the mistranslation name. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. But yeah, the same thing with any kind of vulgarity or
Yeah.
obscenity. I'd be like, if you say crap instead of shit, everyone knows what you mean. Why don't you just say the thing you want to say and be clear? I don't
So,
know.
but she was part of some crazy Christians and stuff like that, and she became obsessed with the idea. Well, she became convinced that she could speak with the dead, like super convinced. She still thinks she can do it. And then she's like, well, actually, and then she had a mental breakdown. And that was fun. That was a fun time because she came to me for help. And I am a twat, right? I'm a real bastard, right? Especially when it comes to this stuff. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Is it God or is it speaking to the dead? And I'm like, it's neither. And she's like, you're not helpful here. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be. I'm telling you the truth. It's neither. You can't.
How dare you? How dare you?
God obviously says that you shouldn't suffer a witch to live, and speaking to the dead is witch work. But God would obviously gave her the power to do it in the first place, so it can't be that bad, right? And it's like, wow, that is a dilemma you've put yourself in there. That's fucking mental. And she relied on me for that, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. How about you're just really wrong about everything, and you're sending yourself through the fucking loop because you think you've got mystical powers that you've convinced yourself of because, well, I had a thought once. And it's, that's why I don't get to do it much because every time I love doing this pseudoscience stuff. And every time I try and fucking do it, YouTube fucks me hard and goes, I'm going to take your channel down. So I get to do it like once every 3 months.
It can be rough. Our friend Bree over at HiveSci was talking about something similar. How every time she tried to do a video about pseudoscience, she would get that little paragraph at the bottom, like "Flat Earth is a debunked conspiracy theory," and the video get deprioritized.
I don't even get mine. Just gets taken down. It just gets taken down. I don't get to rebut. I don't get to like go do it, say anything against it, and it just says you can't make it. If you do this again in 3 months, we're going to start giving you strikes. And it's like, I'm saying that it's not true. Like, fuck off.
The robots are crazy.
Yeah,
I need a robot graphic.
Yeah, I want to do pseudoscience. I want to debunk the shit out of pseudoscience stuff. But every time I fucking do it, they fuck me. Because I love. Because I do all the anti-religion stuff, but I love doing all this pseudoscience stuff because I love fucking Darren Brown, and I love stuff like fucking some of the stuff that was on Penn and Teller's bullshit. And some of it's crap, but some of it's really good. All these different ways that here's all the different effects that make all this different stuff happen. Anti-depersonalization and how the internet makes people more vicious and all this different stuff. And like, I love like one of the things I was successful in getting my mum to not use tarot cards and not to use the pendulum. Because I was able to describe, I love doing that shit. Like the pendulum's stupid, you get the idea and it's going to swing the way you want it to. And then confirmation on the other, bias on the other, does the rest, you know what I mean? And I love talking about that stuff, but every time I do, YouTube says, fuck you. And it makes it so I don't.
I don't know. Who knows what the hell the robots are up to. But I guess, well, why did you start getting an interest in taking down the pseudoscience? Is it because your mom had that whole prestidigitation phantasm manifestation thing?
It's, to be honest, it's because I'm angry at Santa, I think.
Oh, okay.
When I found out about Santa, man, I remember finding out about Santa. I worked it out myself, right? And I was angry. I'm like, why is everybody lying to me? And then imagine how angry I was when that was the same with like God. Because God's the same thing, isn't it? He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good. You know what I mean? And he knows all the things. It's the same thing. It's just priming children for God. And then you disprove one, and then the other one, you're supposed to not care about that. But like, it bothers me. And I see all these people believing all this stuff all the time, and it bothers me. And then I listen to people like George Carlin, and I go, all this stuff bothers me. You know what I mean? Because it's like, just people find amazingly stupid. What's that line I love? Was it clever people find really intelligent people find intelligent ways to be stupid, right? And people need the chaos of the universe is too much for them. So that it needs to be the Illuminati or a flat Earth or some Jewish cabal or whatever God or whatever thing that is an overarching thing that controls everything, and it makes all the chaos okay. You know what I mean? So, and they all need that in some way. And like, people need to, if you live under that kind of umbrella, you can't make the world better because you think it's pointless. So if we can break the umbrellas that these people live under, saying, oh, this is what's protecting us from the horrors of reality, maybe we could actually do something about the horrors of reality and make it better.
No, we can't change the world we live in. That would be like a sin against God's plan or something. I don't know.
Because like, wasn't my mum, you were asking like, when I started to deconvert, I was much younger. I was like 10, because I used to watch George Carlin when I was a kid on Shining Time Station, and he'd be like doing the Thomas the Tank Engine stuff. And then my dad had like Back in Town from '96 on tape, and I'm like, oh, it's Thomas the Tank Engine guy. Wow, spooky. Is it just because I won't play a ukulele? That's not cool.
Damn it, spooky. A&A, good to see ya. Bexington, a bunch of people popping in. I missed a few of you. Kimberly, I saw you. Hello, everyone. Hello, future people who watch this later. Hey, if you're new here, if you've never been to the channel before, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot, and I mean a lot. This channel's kind of in trouble, so I'd appreciate it very much. Thank you. Right, so crazy stuff. Did you start out believing, or were you like agnostic about it?
No, I was raised. Well, my mum was. I wouldn't say she was an atheist, but she was definitely not like, you know, she'd be like, yeah, God exists, but I don't do anything about it, until she met this like crazy woman called Donna. And when she met this crazy woman called Donna, she became like the most fundamentalist Baptist. And so I had to, because I was only 3 or 4. And then, you know, I do. Yes, I do.
That's fair. That's fair.
But through that, my mum almost turned to Mormonism until she read it. That was a fun week.
Wow.
So because she well, you know, my mum was going, you know, America's the best, because she's, you know, she's just a simple right winger from Maine, and she fucking,
it happens, yeah.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, Jesus came to America? Do tell me more. I do very much like the idea of Jesus being from America and not being from one of those heathen places overseas.
Yeah, it's not the brown people, not the Lamanites. Oh no.
Yeah. But then she read it, and then she phoned me up and said, burn it immediately. It's from the devil.
Oh, she did. She didn't like Joseph Smith's war stories about.
I don't know which bit it was. She never told me which bit it was. She just phoned my nan up. I was at my nan's house, and she just phoned her up frantically saying, burn it, it's the devil.
I guess she didn't get the burning in the bosom or something.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Oh my. I don't know. I kind of like the Book of Mormon. I mean, yeah, the story is batshit fucking crazy, but some of the messages in there are better than what's in the Bible. Now, some of them are fucking horrible, like people with brown skin are sinful by nature, but
hey, we
you know,
take that really, really, you know, that we take that to heart. You know what I mean? And I became sufficiently holy, so that is why I'm now white.
you became delightsome, yes.
Yeah. Well, I was in the Boy Scouts for a while, so I suppose that counted.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because they own the Boy Scouts, don't they, the Mormons? Fun. Yeah, the Mormons bought the Boy Scouts years ago.
I had not heard that.
Yeah. Boy Scouts of America is owned by the Mormon Church.
That's disturbing.
Yes, it is, and it's been for decades. And nobody cares. They're just like, yeah, whatever, it's the Boy Scouts. Scouts honor.
Yeah, I mean,
They get everyone
there's-
together in a forest every 4 years, and they tell them messages. I've been at one of those jamborees. People certainly
yeah.
tuck you off to the side and have conversations with you.
Oh, yeah, some of it gets a little shady. As a child, I heard. Well, I was a teenager, but I heard my first dirty joke from an adult. It wasn't a jamboree; it was just a camp out with my scout
Yeah.
troop. All the younger kids had gone to bed, and our scout master, who happened to also be a pastor, like all the adults were sitting around the campfire, and me
Yeah.
and one other older kid, and he just says, "Hey, did I ever tell y'all this joke?" And he just launched into it, and I cannot repeat it on YouTube. It is bad.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say, it involves some underage people and a very off-color punchline.
Oh,
And
wow.
it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, that was highly inappropriate to tell in front of children.
That's
And he's
totally...
a pastor.
Hey.
So, you know.
Well, if he was Catholic, it might explain a few things. That's all I'm going to say. I've read the Crimen Solicitates document, and I know exactly how they got away with their shit. It's abysmal.
The what document?
So
No.
the Vatican had a document from 1963 to the year 2000 called the Crimens. I can never say the second word. It's Solicitates or something like that, and it's Latin, and it just means crime and solicitation in Latin. But it's about how you get away with fucking kids and how you get away with doing all that, and like how you get away from it from the church, how you obfuscate it from the law, and how you stop people that have had the crime committed against them from talking. Like, because they go, hey, by the way, if you tell this to anyone that isn't the lawyer involved with this, you get excommunicated from the church and you go to hell immediately. And it doesn't matter that no one heard it but you and the person you're telling it to, because God heard it. So keep stum.
Well, I mean, you know, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're. Oh wait, that's still Santa. Never mind.
Well, that's why I have my love. That's why I like to get looked over by my lovely commemorative plate of John Pope Paul II, because he endorsed that sort of thing, and it was around when he was doing stuff, so it's cool, right?
Yeah. No.
I love the Catholic Church.
The Catholic Church is. Well, I don't know. I'm so torn because on the one hand, horrible things. Yes, they're making progress very slowly as they're getting dragged, kicking and screaming into the present, as they have been for the past several hundred years. But on the flip side, still horrible, still shuffling around predators and protecting them from legal consequences, which in turn does more harm to the children in their congregation. We gotta protect the children, just not these children. Okay.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there's the tradcaths who are ignoring all the progressive stuff and trying to regress the church to 1099. Like,
well, that's not like I was actually making fun of a guy called Brian Holdsworth.
Oh yes, our favorite sophist.
Yeah, and he was defending the Catholic Church from this. So that's actually why I ended up having. I knew little bits of it and I'd read bits of it before, but like. Doing that video is actually why I had to read the whole thing, because like I'm like, is there other stuff? Because like the Catholic Church has a version on their website, and there's definitely stuff in that version that is not in the leaked version. But you know, it's God's word on earth, and if God say it, and if the Pope say it so, then it be. So God says it's okay, and you can't point that out because God has mysterious ways, don't you know?
Yeah, because he's spooky, like our friend Spook. You know what? I can't point at it, so I'm just gonna. I don't use my buttons often enough, so I can't find the button I'm looking for. I have the finger of God on here somewhere, but I can't. There it is. There. The finger of God points to the Holy Ghost. It's fine. It's a better joke when I don't have to explain what I'm doing.
That's the fun of technology. It makes
Jeebus.
It puts everything at your fingertips, but also makes it insanely complicated. So it looks simple, but then you start to do it and you go, what the fuck? Why? Well, I pressed the button it said to press, and now that's turned on. What's going on?
Oh, it's, you know, I mean, you're trying to do your best. You're trying to run a show, and all of a sudden your dick is out. What the fuck?
You know, it just happens. You know, might happen for 8 years, but you know.
Yeah.
The bright taste of Charleston Chew. Sorry, I think more of Futurama when I see him now than anything.
Oh, that's fair. Oh my goodness. I really miss Futurama. I haven't watched television since like 2011, but I miss Futurama. But I do try to keep a few of the handy clips around. Like here's one of my favorites.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I use that one a lot. But like, fuck it. That's why I want more people to read Discworld, man. Because there's so much good shit in Discworld. Because you like Discworld, don't you? You're one of the people that like Discworld. Everybody should read Discworld.
Absolutely.
Discworld's fucking best. Everybody should read Small Gods and laugh at religion.
Oh yeah, Small Gods was my first. My turtle lost its world and its elephants. Fifth Elephant is also great, but Small Gods that got me into Discworld. It was the first one I read, and I love the theology about how gods can get stronger and weaker, and
from belief. I love the fact that only one person actually believes in him, and not the rules around it. He's really weak. I smite you with thunderbolts.
yeah. It's so great, and the point, because it's a satire, is to describe what's up with the church. Like, nobody has any powers. They can't talk to their God because they believe in the church, not the God. And I'm like, it's so true.
Yeah, because it's saying that because in the Discworld, the gods need belief to exist, and the church is getting in the way of that belief, so the gods can exist because the religion is changing what the God is, and people don't believe in the God anymore. And I love Terry Pratchett, man. Every time Terry Pratchett got angry, he made a brilliant book, and everybody needs to read all 41 of them, because there is 41 books. And they're not all super long. They're all like 200-300 pages long, and they're all the best like commentaries on basically every subject he makes fun of. And it just is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have so many to go through, but yeah.
That's why it's like all my tattoos are Discworld, to be honest. I've got the watch on that arm, and I've got Granny Weatherwax there, and then I've got Nanny Og there. It's the best. Like, fucking go watch. If nobody doesn't believe me, go watch Hogfather. Hogfather is fantastic. It's a 2-part film special about exactly what I was talking about before about Santa, like being God. That's basically the point of that entire book. It's so good. Death becomes Santa, and it's fantastic. Actual Reaper death. It's so good.
I love all the death scenes. And the death of rats.
Death of Rats is fantastic.
So great. But the scene with the sword, like, don't give a child a sword, they could get hurt. Well, that's what swords are for, right?
Yeah, that'll be a very important lesson.
Yes.
But you can't give her a sword. She's a girl. Yeah? She still needs a sword. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Not enough people love Discworld, and it's not on. Because Discworld's the best. It just really is.
Mm-hmm. It's
Sorry, I need to fix my...
We should make a religion about that. To hell with all this nonsense.
But he loves you.
It works better when it plays straight through. Oh my goodness. Oh well, it's good times. So, you got as far as George Carlin, and
George Carlin spoke to me directly about a problem I was having with the church. And
our Lord and Savior, the prophet George.
Yeah. So I started in Sunday school saying things like, well, there's dinosaur bones. And like, maybe science is figuring out how God did stuff. And they kicked me out. I went to a few different churches. And eventually we were outside one, and it was like the rich church in town. And my mum went, we can't go in there. We're too poor. Like, people will look down on us. And I'm like, yeah, but aren't we all here to praise the Lord? And she's like, yeah, but we can't deal with them looking down on us. So we didn't go in there. And then I heard George Carlin in fucking Back in Town say, well, isn't just a church a place where people go once a week to compare clothing? And it spoke all the volumes to me because of that. And then once I moved over here, I ended up going to a Catholic school because my mum thought it was religious, and there was a girl I fancied there. And fucking...
As one does.
So I went there, but it was a proper Catholic school. They had like priests come in and talk to people, and you had to do communion and like Ash Wednesdays and all sorts. And
oh my!
Being around Catholics really turned me into an atheist more than literally anything.
Yeah, much like the Bible. It's you read the Bible and you're like, what the fuck? People believe this?
To be honest, I bought it all hook, line, and sinker because my mum made me read one of those children's Bibles where they change all the stuff and they dilute it all, and it's not really what's in the Bible. You know what I mean? So all the stories are truncated and put together, and there's not two versions of creation and two versions of Noah's Ark and 3 or 4 versions of thingy being nicked and being sold into slavery in Genesis and all this different shit. They put it all together and tone down all the language. There's no rape, there's no pillaging, there's no murder, there's no underage, whatever. There's not all that. It's just all nice and wholesome. And isn't everybody nice living on a cloud? You know what I mean? So I bought a hook, line, and sinker. And then Catholics are like, no, you need to pay attention to the misery and the sorrow. Do you not understand that, you lowly worm? And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? None of this is what the Bible says. And then so over here, because we don't have separation of church and state, like, you get forced to learn Christianity in school, right? We had religious education. It's like, actually one of the courses that you're forced to take. So
good.
Not over here. It's not. No. Christianity, great. Everything else, bad. Look at all the evil heathens. Why don't you believe what we believe? And I'm like, but being like a fundamentalist, I'm like, but the Bible doesn't say that. So I'd get into arguments with Catholics, man. And then there'd be a Catholic, and there was a couple like atheist kids in there that were like, dude, you sound like us. And I'm like, yeah, but they're just wrong. And they're like, well, so are you. And I'm like, well, I guess. Because by that point, I'd already kind of bottomed out fighting against Catholics for ages about what it's in the Bible and nobody cared. And all this different shit, listening to Carlin and fucking listening to so many other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've known a few Catholics, and I don't know. I've tried to get it. My grandmother tried to get me into Christianity. It didn't work. I tried because all the other kids around me, but every single time I tried, I found like unbelievable bullshit. Like, as of, for example, in Scouts. We met in the basement of a Catholic church, and they had the Ten Commandments posted in the basement.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever actually seen the 10 Commandments. And the very first one, you shall have no other gods before me. So I go over to the Scoutmaster. I'm like, what is this bullshit? Because, he's a pastor. And I'm like, you people all keep saying that God is the only God. There are no other gods. But God himself says there are other gods. So who's lying to me here,
Yeah. Well, that's why I love using. I got so pissed. One of the first videos, in fact, the first video on my channel is me and my old co-host making fun of Ray Comfort, doing this video where he's like, "Come on, just believe, man. Just believe like a child would believe their father." You know what I mean? And he keeps on going about that the trust not in your own understanding, trust in the Lord's. And I love using this against Christians nowadays, man, because all they do is go, "Hey, you fucking." They make up what they want about Christianity and what Christianity wants, and then when you point out things that are in it, you go, "Hey, by the way, trust not in your understanding, trust in the Lord's." And that also means people on YouTube. And the Lord says you're wrong. Why are you still saying this? And they're like, well, you can't say that. You're an atheist. And I'm like, doesn't stop God from being right, does it? Like, come on. Your book says certain things, and if you want to ignore it, you're ignoring your God. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, I think that's the most fun way to it only works in those certain situations where you can really nail them with a passage.
Yeah.
It's probably less helpful overall than being like, hey, here's also reality, and this is why we know reality is true. Yes, Al. Every time Ray Comfort gets mentioned, I try to present, the proof of God's perfection, the perfect for you know how this goes.
I'm not really trying to convert them with that. I just like pointing out how they're not following what their God says and how they can't ignore it because it's what their God says. And there's a lot of things that he says, and they only know about a few quotes because, you all get together on Sunday and you get in your Bible study and you want to talk about how the gays are bad, how you shouldn't do this, whatever, right? And you pick out 3 passages and you go, those are the 3 passages you should care about. I know there's an entire book full of other things, but we need to care about this right now. And people read the Bible precisely once when they convert. They become Christians and they go, well, I guess I'll read the Bible. And then they read it and they go, well, I didn't understand any of it because, they've probably read the King James version or whatever, and they don't understand the structure of the Bible. And they go, I didn't understand a lot of that, but I've definitely read it. So when I hear somebody else say that that's what the Bible says, well, I read it and it was definitely in there because they're Christians and they wouldn't lie about that, right?
No, Christians are known for their total honesty all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I like pointing out, oh, you're against abortions, are you? Well, the trial of the bitter water says, actually, if you think the woman is cheated and you have no proof, well, I could take you and I could take the woman to the priest, and then we could ask the priest to gather some dust from the ground and some bitter herbs, and then they'll make you drink it. And then if you're okay and you haven't cheated on me, then the baby and you get to live. So that's cool. But they don't like to talk about that when they're saying abortion's bad, right? But that's in the Bible. But who cares about the Bible, right? Because they've got their own religion they made up over 2,000 years of arguments. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They get their own understanding, and that's cool. And that's why they don't like people that like science. Because we go, hey, there seems to be very strict, rigid ways that everything works in reality. And we seem to be finding them out. And your guy isn't there at all. And actually, it goes against most of everything that you say. And we're using these findings to create things and do stuff. So what you got against that? And they go, well, it's just evil, and you shouldn't like scientists because they're evil, smart people. And you get taught to bully smart people when you're young, to not like the smart people that are telling you that you don't understand reality when you're older, you see?
When they go, on your own understanding.
Yeah, hey, when you're saying to that person, maybe you don't understand the up quark and the down quark, and they go, well, you're just a stupid dummy head and whatever. I don't have to care because you're one of those elite people that know stuff. So like, whatever. You know what I mean? Because you get taught from a very young age to not like intelligent people. Why would you like the intelligent people? They know things. They make you think about stuff. It's bad.
They ask questions.
How dare them? How dare them ask questions and want to understand things?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason that many of us do the thing, is because it's not just the religion. Like, if people want to believe something silly and it makes them happy, whatever, we don't really care. But when a person deliberately disables their own critical thinking capabilities, even shuns it, looks down on that capacity in others, they become vulnerable to so much other bullshit, like thinking they speak to dead people or tarot card vibes or whatever the fuck else, essential oils instead of going to the doctor, or,
have you ever you might have heard of this. You ever heard of the doctrine of the signatures?
Doctor of the signatures?
The doctrine of the signatures. It's an old Christian doctrine from like the Middle Ages, right? Might be a bit later, medieval, Middle Ages, something like that. So Christians used to think that because God made everything, and that he would leave clues in the plants and the animals, that they would be used for medicines. So like toothwort, when you cut it in half and it looks like it has a little tooth in it. Well, it's called toothwort, not just because it looks like a tooth in it, but because it looks like it has a tooth in it. People thought that God put that there for our teeth. So people use that to try and cure tooth problems. You know what I mean? So like do you know the bleeding heart flower? Where it looks like an open stereotypical heart, and it's got like blood coming out the bottom. Well, that's for hearts, isn't it? Because it looks like a heart, you see.
Sure, yeah.
There's lots of stuff. So, like, if there's a lot of plants that have like human organ names in them, there's some part of it somewhere that looks or would make people in that time period think of that would be for that, because like the doctrine of the signatures was rife, and it's why medicine was held back for hundreds of years, because God left us clues.
Yes, we just need to trust the vibes in the nature. And
I mean, if you've seen the tooth in the toothwort, it looks exactly like a tooth. So that's what it's for. Because why would it look like a tooth?
Yeah, which is further proof that the world was created for humans to just, pillage and dominate and things. Yeah.
And, if we look at a watch, it's the same as an eye, you see. So, you see, one thing leads on to another. It's... Because they've been arguing this stuff for 2,000 years because they've had no answers, and they've almost never had a correct answer. So they have to argue about it more. And they like simple, easy, intuitive answers for hard, non-intuitive questions. That's the entire point of their existence. Is everything in the universe is really hard to understand and really stupidly complex because There's so many things that none of us know about, and it affects literally everything all the time, but we don't know about it yet. But hey, God did it because it's simple and it's easy, you see. That has all the answers, so that's more impressive.
Yeah, our argument from incredulity or argument from ignorance, I suppose. But that's sort of why I titled the episode this, Enter the Absurd, because that's sort of what you do, is you point out, not only is this silly, not only are you being irrational to try to back up this stuff that you were just brought up in and never really questioned, but it actually, you don't even have to make an argumentum ad absurdum to show. You just point at it and be like, have you ever noticed how absurd that is?
Listen, but that's because I remember so much of the mindset of, you can't talk about that at the dinner table. You don't talk about dinner or politics at the dinner table. You know what I mean? You don't want to cause problems. Why would you talk? So but that's the point, man. That's how you control people, is you make them think that you shouldn't talk about things and you should talk about everything, question everything. Something Colin said, man, people teach you how to read, right? Because they want you to read stuff, but they don't teach you to question what they read, right? Because if you question what you read, you're questioning authority and their authority, because they're your parents, they're your teachers, whatever, and they don't want you questioning them. So you're taught from a young age to not question, not even for a religious purpose or anything. That's just because people want you to do what the fuck they want you to do, because you're a child and you're a bit feral. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it all comes to the and then that comes in with, well, hey, which place are you born in and what are you surrounded by? Here's all the things that you inherit, because your brain at around 2 years old is like a fucking sponge and picks up everything around it, like immediately, and latches onto it like the most. You know what I mean? And that's why Sunday school's there, and you got shitty little cartoons like Gator's Pond or Bible Bees, and you know what I mean? And fucking, I remember when I was a kid, Bible Man. Look, it's Batman, but for the Bible. Look, isn't God great? Look at Batman, Bible Batman. It's God's great. Yes, lovely.
Yes. Bible Man. I didn't even believe that was real until, I think, was it Owen Morgan? I think. I'm sure a few other people have. There's actually a cartoon. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I remember that. It was only a couple of years ago as well. It's fucking because they think that this, because if as long as it's all, that's why they're getting so good at the internet, because it's all about selling stuff to kids, isn't it? You got to get them.
Oh yeah, buy my DVDs.
I remember. Do you know what actually convinced me of this the most? I remember when I was in high school over here. So I was like 16. I was in my last year, and I was in my last year, and a bank came in and made everybody get a bank account with the school, right? And in my year, and my science teacher, my biology teacher went, "You probably shouldn't do this, because what's going on is they're trying to hook the claws in you when you're very young, and like fucking." It's just like religion. I love that man. That man, he was an actual biologist that worked in a Catholic school just to annoy Catholics. That man was great.
Everybody needs a hobby, I guess.
To be honest, no wonder I'm such a bastard. No, he wanted to teach kids, and he really hated Catholics, so he decided that he'd teach in a Catholic school to undermine Catholics.
Hey, goals. If you can make a difference in someone's life, even if it's driving them out of that godforsaken fucking church. Yeah. Wow. I can imagine dedicating my life to trying to make a difference like that. That's sort of what we're doing here on the internet, is trying to reach more people. Yes, of course, our own community is fantastic, and finding your place in the world is fantastic.
Yeah.
But we're all out here because we want to try to reach people, and we have so many voices, so many different diverse experiences, so many different approaches, because you never know what it's going to take to make a person click and go, holy shit, this thing I've been believing in is really stupid and is very harmful to my own life.
Yeah, it's always the most random shit that does it as well. You know what I mean? Because I would even from just saying, I got more twigged by my science teacher telling me that I shouldn't get a bank account when I'm 15 because they want to hook me in forever, and George Carlin going, hey, they're just comparing clothing, y'all. You know what I mean? The amount of random things that people wouldn't think that would connect with someone is insane. But our brains are like that because they go, hey, we can fire an infinite number of times in an infinite number of ways. So it could anything.
Yeah.
Fun.
Praise Jeebus? I don't know.
My neurons.
John, only when people pay me. I am not cheap either, but that's a whole other stream for a completely different website.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you shouldn't be cheap, because you know what? In this old world, we make our own value. So jack it up, because fucking no one else is going to do it. You do it for yourself, and then people believe you. That's how the world works.
Well, I mean, as most people know, I'm very poor. Most of my wardrobe comes from thrift shops or clearance sales or whatever. But you need some funds in order to keep increasing one's hat supply. And don't get me wrong, I love this hat. I've got a couple other favorite hats, but you never know what's going to be the next favorite hat, right? Yeah.
I started wearing hats, and people got angry at me. They said, "You can't wear that hat anymore." And I'm like, "Okay." I found an archaeology hat, and I'm like, "This is my English archaeology hat." And then people rebelled against me. And I'm like, "I guess I can't wear hats then." Hats are out of my jurisdiction, apparently.
You're forbidden. It's taboo.
Hey, I'm already bad for it because I'm a fat male atheist with a beard. I'm already bad from fedoras, so I guess I'm used to it.
I thought it was like dress code to do. I mean, the closest I have to a fedora, it happens to be one of the hats I actually have in reach, is this one, this cowboy hat looking thing. It's
Well, I had it up before. The only one I've got is it's a wrestling hat from a wrestler I got from a missus. But it doesn't even fit. But I can't buy one because people go, "Look at that fat neckbeard atheist," and I'm like, "Oh, sick of." Everybody just needs to stop putting everybody into groups so they can fucking discriminate against them. You know what I mean? It does my head in. And I think that annoys me about religion the most, because it's just well, let's program you to think in these ways, and then when we programmed you to think in these ways, you find it acceptable to put yourself in these boxes, and these people are in these boxes, and those people are the most evil and they're going to burn in hell. So kind of whatever you do to them is okay, right? Just don't do it loudly, and don't let people know about it. But we're all cool, right? We're cool.
Yeah,
with
well,
it.
I mean, no, whatever you do, you just ask Jesus for the forgiveness and just suck his dick a little and
no. Hey, we're talking about the Lord Jesus here. We wash feet. We don't suck dick. We wash feet. We use euphemisms when it comes to the Lord.
Yes, the washing of feet is yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it probably isn't with Jesus, but how amazing would that be if that was true? If that actually was truly a euphemism used in that point, and he wasn't actually legitimately watching feet.
I mean, it's like that in the rest of the Bible, like when it describes the angels, how they have the wings that are covering their faces and they're covering their feet.
Yeah. What's the thing about the rule about the tabernacle having to be on a set of steps or whatever? The temple has to have steps and not a ramp, because when the priest walks up and you can see his feet showing because he's walking a certain way on that one. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh no.
Jesus was just a gay dude with 12 mates, and they got around it by saying that he was the son of God, and really they was just fucking mad, and people kind of knew it but kind of didn't, and that's why it took a while to catch on. People had to forget about what Jesus was actually like before they started believing in him. You know what I mean?
That actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because we know Paul's letters came shortly after, a few years after, whatever. Half of them are forgeries, possibly more. Who knows? But whatever. But then we didn't get Mark, at least the current Mark, not the original Mark that the historians talk about, but something like 30 years later. It took a little while because Paul's running around doing his nonsense. Ostensibly, the other apostles are spreading all over the world, talking about this dude who was murdered and therefore worship him. And the Catholics hadn't started with he died for your sins. Your guilt is the reason he had to die. All that crap.
Well,
it took a minute.
Yeah, well, it's because it's you got to think. So let's got a cult. they say an asteroid's coming, right? The comet's coming, and it's Hellbop, right? Hellbop's coming, and it's all going to take us. It's going to take us up, right? So Hellbop comes, and then it goes, and then we're not taken to heaven, right? So 5 minutes go past, and you go, the clocks just must be a bit off. Clocks are just a bit off. We're still, they're still on time. Maybe they're a little bit late. 10 minutes. Oh, all right, maybe the time difference is wrong. Maybe time dilation got, and then 30 years later, after you say that nobody here in this generation will taste death before my Father's kingdom comes back, and that doesn't happen. Well, then maybe someone, I don't know, maybe like a Paulite figure has to completely change the religion and point it away to someone else because well, what was originally said didn't happen, but we wanted to keep going, so it's definitely this, right? It was definitely for your sins, and it wasn't for it wasn't for rebellion against the Roman state. But hey,
definitely not that.
Yeah, what do we know? We are only but lowly worms that cannot comprehend the Lord our God and but His will. So
that's right. And He totally came back, guys. We super promise.
He totally fucking came back, and he's coming back again tomorrow sometime in my lifetime. I know we've been saying he's been coming back for 2,000 years, but I'm alive now, and I'm a special boy, and I'm definitely don't want to fucking die, no cancer, no nothing, so I want to be raptured, so the Lord's coming to me.
I think that's part of it.
Sorry, what?
I think that's part of it. Like there's,
definitely, yeah.
Christianity has been rewritten over the centuries to increase the rhetoric in it, to make it more mentally hooky. It's a hooker, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things is it preys on people's fear of death. So everybody's convinced Jesus is coming before they die, so they don't have to worry about dying.
Well, it's right there in the Bible, so it must still be. It must be now, right?
Of course.
It wasn't a lie for the last 2,000 years. It's definitely happening now. You see, because do you not see the people writing the books saying how all the end times are happening now, and how all the COVID happened? And if I read the one translation of the Bible, it says plagues, and I don't know. It feels like COVID was a plague to me. So that's definitely end times. You see, there's more gays. And there's more this, and there's more that, and there's more everything, you see.
Oh, Zach, have you heard? There are wars and rumors of wars.
Damn, yo! The end is nigh! The end is nigh!
This is totally the first time that's ever happened. Oh, and there's mockers and scoffers, too. So the Bible is like, I don't know, 2 out of 700 or so. But still, it's better than any other holy book. These scoffers, they've been scoffing since scoffing was a thing, and they'll continue to scoff. I know we were talking about now in Rome, but it's been 2,000 years, and have you seen atheists now? They dare say that he's a joke. They laugh at him like he's a common beast in the fields. You know what I mean? They get indignant about Cat
this shit.
Jesus is not a beast. He's a very distinguished, house-dwelling, mouse-catching, useful member of the divine community, I will have you know.
Well, I'm sorry. I have to disagree with you on an ecumenical matter, because everyone knows, of course, that our actual Lord and Savior is one Sir David Attenborough. And one Sir David Attenborough has only come but to this earth to show us exactly in which ways his father did create all the magical things upon this planet and how beautiful they are. And those that do not believe in one Sir David Attenborough when he dies will not go to heaven. And I will not see you there, because I am the only believer, because he obviously is the Lord and Savior.
So that's sort of like a look at the trees?
Yeah.
There was the first AI thing I ever made. The prompt I used was the angriest Christmas tree. And that's what it gave me. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Perfection.
I can never make fucking AI pictures do anything I want it to. I want this thing, and it goes, did you want 3 men hugging in a door? And I'm like, that's not what I said.
What if they had 7 fingers on each hand, though?
I mean, I could work with it, but it's not what I wanted. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old. I'm becoming an old fuddy-duddy, and I'm approaching middle age. Well, I've approached middle age, so I don't. Yes, I am the old man shaking the clouds. That's why I am the shaken fist.
That's right. Little did I know I had a graphic of you this whole time.
Yeah. Do you know what? When I made this channel, I was so surprised that name was not taken. That shocked me, actually. How the fuck is nobody taking that name? You think it's like, you know what I mean? I to be honest, even when I first made this channel, I meant it to make fun of wrestling, and that's why it's the Shaken Fist, because it's wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I didn't end up doing that in the slightest, so it's okay. I got sick of being told that I should shut up about religion, so I decided to shout about it into the void on the YouTubes.
Yeah, and there's quite a few of us who enjoy that for various reasons, for personal grudge reasons, like you were talking about earlier. A lot of us, we're justified in being angry because we've been lied to by people that we trusted who are doing demonstrable harm to the world because of the lies. Fuck?
Yeah, I was promised that if I did bad things, I would get heaven, and I wanted heaven, and I did bad things, and I did bad things, and now all I get is regret. It's not fair.
Yeah, feel guilt and also fear hell. Like,
yay. It's always fun when you get like, it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally you go, well, maybe I could go to hell, and my head goes, oh shit, and you go, why can't this just stop? Can it not be done now? It's been 20 years. Why do I still have to occasionally give a shit?
You know.
The indoctrination's strong. Very strong.
It really is. I mean, I've met so many atheists who, like, they say, I wish I could be a Christian and just fit in with everybody and go along with the flow, but you can't make yourself believe things. Once you see behind the curtain, you can't unsee it. Once you know it's false, you can't undo that.
But, you know, they've decided that we're not really atheists. We're like misotheists that just hate God or whatever. So we're not really atheists. So we know that he exists, you see. That's why we should be afraid of hell, and, you know, why we should feel abashed, and we should be like, hey, I guess you're right. We really are a Christian. And do you know what? I said this on my stream before, so all the people that weren't there for that, if some fucking Christian fuck or some theist fuck starts saying to you that you're not an atheist, you should call them whatever religion annoys them the most. Right? Because if they're going to take away whatever belief you have, then why should you let them have those? Right? The golden rule, Jesus said in the golden rule, treat those as though you want to be treated. And they're Christian, and they're supposed to follow that. So they want to be they want their religion to be mistreated because they're it's not misgendering. I don't know what the fuck to call it. What would you call it? That's what that keeps it being
misfaithing?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, giving them the wrong faith. If they're going to do it to you, why can't we do it to them?
I've heard a few people say misgendering, as you said. It's justified in their case because you're saying you're misgendering me because of your Christian values. Then I have to misgender you back because Jesus said you treating me this way shows me that's how you want to be treated.
And you should be happy with it, because Jesus said if someone, you turn the other cheek. And it doesn't mean you ignore it. What it means is you be the bigger person and you literally offer up the other cheek in which to slap. Let's talk, if we're going to talk about Jesus, well, let's talk about what Jesus do, right? And what Jesus say, because Christians, and George Carlin was very correct at this, and I steal it all the time, but it's 100 billion% correct. Christians don't want to know what Jesus says you should do so they can do it. They want to know what he says you should do so they can tell you to do it. Because it's all about control, and they don't really give a shit about following the rules themselves. They just want to make sure you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the exceptions, or when they get caught, like with corruption or using Grindr, whatever the case may be. I've sinned and I'm repenting, and God says He forgives me, so you have to too. But I really could use an extra $8 million for my next private jet to help spread the goodness of Jesus. All that shit.
Yeah, because I need to be higher up, away from the noises of
closer to God, above the clouds. Oh goodness. No, when they start pulling that shit about everybody understand, I have a response for them that's a little bit different. I have this butterfly symbol that I use for most of my branding. That's nil. Nil is the great not God and creator of creator gods. And nil is useful for a number of things. First of all, by saying they believe in any god, that means they also believe in nil. They have to. It's an entailment because nil is the creator of creator gods. That's where the creator gods come from. It also helps illustrate the problem with their special pleading about there has to be a God because otherwise you get an infinite regress because things have to come from somewhere, yada, yada. Well, where did God come from? Well, God came from nil, the creator of creator gods.
Yeah.
It's all from nil.
I have a similar thing that I just call Fred. And it's for the fucking the ontological argument. Oh, look, I've thought about how powerful this God is. And if you think about a more powerful God, well, then he exists because it must exist because he is the most powerful being. So it's like, all right, then, well, Fred is more powerful than Yahweh, Jehovah, Yaldabaoth, whatever word you want to call him for whatever religion he's from, right? Oh, it's fucking Fred is just the most powerful because, well, Fred is the most powerful, and I thought he was the most powerful, so he must exist because if it's the greatest being, well, I thought of the greatest being, so all hail Fred.
The argument from imagination is my absolute. It just, oh goodness.
It's what, do you know what I used to like when I actually, like when I first started this channel, I actually cared about debunking Christian arguments, right? I actually wanted to go through and like do a series and point out all the things. And then I started doing one. The first that I was doing was the ontological argument and why I can't do this anymore. And this is why I can't deal with Christian arguments properly. I'm just like, nah. Like, if you want to, like, if I'm talking to a Christian, they start pulling this shit out. It's like, I don't have to talk to you anymore. You're not being serious. You're just parroting something that you've parroted since the 1200s or whatever, right? So just shut the fuck up. We're taking an argument from a guy who didn't know that, like, heat was a vibration, that cells exist, that, like, anything, that gravity is a thing. He didn't understand literally anything about what actually happens in the real world and in which it works or how it works, right? So we're going to take arguments from this prick? Like, fuck off. No. Why should any of that matter if he had no idea of what the fabric of reality actually is? Because how does that... Because, like, they go, hey, God's supernatural, right? So God's supernatural, you can't test for him. So scientists can't test for God. And I'm like, no, fuck you. God is the most natural thing. He has to be. If God is everything and everything is God and his being flows through every fabric of existence, then God, in fact, is the most natural. So, in fact, finding the most natural thing should be able to be like finding neutrinos and everything, you know, because they pass through everything. But we don't find anything like that because it's not there. But
what if God is neutrinos, though? What if it's all Jesus particles?
It's all Jesus particles. Well, if it's all Jesus particles, I'm fucked. That's all.
So here's Mikey. Mikey, I was just talking about you and Neil. Zach apparently has never been on the show. Mikey will be on this show in a few weeks, but also Mikey, you and Zach should connect and talk and things. Do the thing that you do. I'm great with words. This is why I host shows. Yes.
I'm totally the same. Until I put a video on or I've got someone to talk to, I am the most awkward fucker on the stream. It's like, hi, I'm Zach, and this is Shaking Fist. I'm going to be good at this eventually. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And then you put a video on, I'm like, these sons of bitches. It gives me strength.
It's true. Yeah, anger really, it helps you focus.
It does. It's the bad thing in me because I'm an extremely anxious person, right? And all my anxiety comes out as just fierce rage. I get scared and I go, well, actually, isn't being brave fighting against being scared? So then I get angry, you know, to be like, fucking get him. Well, you know, alcohol makes you do stupid stuff.
Maybe that's why they hand it out in church.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Jesus created wine, so are they trying to say that he just bled into the cups?
Oh yes, that's
Jesus just went up and went, I'm going through my emo phase. There you go. Jesus just watched Twilight because he knew it would exist because he was in heaven and heaven's outside of time. So he watched Twilight before he went down, and he decided, yes, you shall drink my blood and all be the vampires of God. That's how you should know that you're the real Jesus followers, because you drink my blood like real vampires would.
You know, I'm sure you've heard people speculate about what kind of undead Jesus was when he rose from the grave. A lot of people say lich, but in vampire lore, if you can get mortals to drink your blood 3 times, if you're a vampire, and you can get them to drink your blood, they become ghouls that are bound to your will. And so that's why I kind of lean. I like the Lich explanation,
Yeah, but
but
liches need
there's some
phylacteries.
merit to the
Jesus doesn't
vampire
have
thing.
phylactery.
Yeah, well, that is a bit of a sticky wicket, I suppose. Like where is the full? Is it the true cross? Is it the Shroud of Turin? Perhaps is that why they had to save it from the fire?
Hey,
who knows?
well, we found it 1,000 years later, so it's definitely his, right?
Oh, for sure. That's also
know.
why it totally doesn't match the description that's in the fucking Bible, and also why that's not at all what a thing wrapped around a head would look like, and definitely not the fact that the artist who painted it in the 14th century confessed to the bishop that he painted it. It's all details. It's totally legit, folks.
I think my favorite bit about the shroud is that it disappeared twice for 100 years, around 100 years each time, and then it came back, and it's totally the same thing. Totally the same thing. Don't worry about it. It's totally.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember. Do you remember a couple of years ago? I think it was like 5-10 years ago. They said that they tested the blood that was on the shroud, and it was definitely Jesus's blood.
I've heard people say that, but
like,
the only person who
test that blood against Jesus's blood, you would need Jesus's blood. Do you take a bottle of wine from fucking a Catholic church and then go, look, it's the same thing?
Yeah, it's got the same totally not at all DNA.
Yeah,
Jordan from Reason to Doubt had an expert on a little while ago who said, when they say it's AB negative, all the Jesus things are AB negative. That just means we didn't find anything on it. Like if you test a jar of strawberry jam, it comes up as AB negative because there's no proteins detected. Or whatever the fuck blood type they go with.
What you don't understand is what you do is you take the bottle of wine that has been blessed by the priest in the Catholic Church, and then you drink it, right? And then you have like a stint or whatever coming out of your stomach, you see, because it's passed through you and it becomes Jesus's blood. So if you can take it out of your stomach, it's Jesus's fucking blood. You can test it against anything. Bam! That's fucking science.
Mage is speculating there used to be more to the communion ritual.
Well, that's why Judas was the rebellious one, wasn't it? I suppose that's why he turned.
I kind of like some of the apocryphal stories of Judas.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's the Gospel of Judas or one of the other ones, but the idea is that Jesus told him to go tell the Romans, which actually makes more sense because he was Jesus's purse keeper, right? He held the money for the ministry. So turning in Jesus for 30 silver is killing the goose that laid the golden egg. Why would he do that? But if Jesus told him he needs to do it because that's part of God's plan to, incarnate and then sacrifice himself to himself to get around rules that he's in charge of. Totally rational, folks. It doesn't happen without Judas turning on Jesus. Yeah. So he had to do it.
Gnostic Judas is the fucking best. Because he goes, hey, do you know about Gnostic Judas and like Gnostic Jesus and stuff? Do you know about that stuff at all? I didn't explain it anyway.
Bits and pieces.
So the Gnostics were a sect of Christianity that thought that actually Yahweh was a god called Yaldabaoth. Or Yaldabaoth or something like that. And basically, he was an evil thought that came from Mother Wisdom.
Sophia, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the Greek version, yeah, but not the Gnostic one. But it's the same thing. And fucking... and then he made, without the gods, with the actual main god knowing, and the Barbalo, which are the other knowledges and stuff, like sort of better gods than gods. They're like the other, they're like demigods or lower gods, they're like higher than that. But like higher than actual gods because there's many. And then so Jesus is talking to his 12 disciples and he goes, "Hey, none of you know who I am, right?" And I think it might be, is it the God? I can't remember which one it is. Maybe the Secret Gospel of Peter, where like, and Judas goes, "Hey, I understand what you are. You aren't the son of Yahweh." And he goes, "Oh, go on." And he goes, "You are sent by the Barbalo because you are a bringer of the hidden wisdom. You are an avatar of Adam's third son Seth, and you've come to bring us the wisdom of the Barbalo because Yaldabaoth is this evil ruler." And he goes, "Yes, you are, my son. Now, to make all this happen and to make the real God take over and for no one to fall to Yaldabaoth anymore, you need to go like sacrifice me because I'm like a sacrificial lamb or whatever. You know what I mean?"
It's that's another thing that always drove me crazy is like in some passages he's the lamb, in other passages he's the shepherd. I'm like,
Well,
would you like to pick a lane?
because well, Jesus changes over the years, doesn't he? Because he starts off as he's the shepherd, right? Because Jesus is making you rebel against your Roman oppressors, right? Because the countries around Judah will become drunk when they think they come at you with power, and I, your God, will stand as we bash them down. That's why he goes and he kicks over the, you know, the tax collectors table at the temple and shit. And then
Oh yeah, the
none
money
of that,
changers.
yeah, and then when none of that happened, right? Because when they rebelled and they got the shit kicked out of them, the temple got ruined. They had to go, I guess Jesus wasn't that then, so maybe it's this. So the whole thing of like the four gospels really kind of comes from them not having a clear, concise story and nobody being able to read it anyway. So you can kind of pick and choose. Because the story of Jesus changes over time, and you need this bit for now, and you need this bit for now, and nobody's supposed to read it anyway, except for the priests and the temple fathers or the church fathers, because who can read? So,
Mm-hmm. And we can't have it in English because if the peasants start reading it, then they'll start interpreting and asking questions, and then there'll just be and they were right, because as soon as people started reading it, boom, Protestants happened.
yeah. So it's like the part of the Catholic Church that, you know, does all the Catholic crimes. They come from an Inquisition into that sort of thing where it's like the Roman Inquisition, where it's like people are starting to become like not Catholic so much, so maybe we should do something about that. And they've made their own fucking Catholic Gestapo to stop it, and it's still going to this day under a different name. It's fucking mental.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Didn't expect that, did you?
No, I did not. Oh,
It's a tough one to use because I can only use it when it's semi-relevant to the topic, but not when somebody expects it. So
yeah. Well, you know, that's how comedy works. It's the perfect timing. It doesn't matter how long the walk is. It's the timing that matters.
As long as people get it, because, you know, well, I mean, if you have to explain the joke, that only makes it funnier.
It kind of does sometimes, yes. Because sometimes the explanation and watching people figure it out actually tops telling the fucking joke in the first place. Because you're like, really, I can't believe I had to explain this. But fair enough.
It's sort of Steve Hofstadter's thing. Like, I mean, he's a good enough comedian, but when he has to like engage with the audience for whatever reason, it just gets better. Like his written stuff is great, but his improv is just
it's like a lot of my favorite comedians over here like that. It is just fucking with people like fucking Darryl O'Brien, stuff like that. Really good. He said one of my favorite things about science once. I know he's probably nicked it for someone else. He's like, I'm sick of people saying science knows everything. Science doesn't fucking know everything. If science knew everything, it'd stop.
Yeah, that's sort of the point. That's the main difference between science and religion, is that science is pretty open about the fact that we don't know very much of anything. Like everything we have, all our there's a saying, all models are wrong, but some of them are useful.
But that's also why we're bad at converting people and making people like understand things. Because most people they don't really care. They just want a simple, easy answer. When you go, well, maybe it's this, but actually it's probably going to be proved wrong in the future. They go, whatever. Can I just have the thing that people have said is true for like
if I just
years?
take this, I can just be like, I'm just right because the book says so. You know,
I don't need to learn something new every few years. Like, why do I need to keep on knowing new things? Can it just finish? Can't I be done learning? Everybody just thinks about like learning something new is like school. I don't want to be in school again. Why am I going to know stuff? It's like, I don't know, because knowing things makes things more interesting.
I blame education. I blame public schools. I blame Obama. Let's just, why not? Yeah.
to be honest, fucking public schools were crumbling well before Obama. Like, it's been a concerted effort since like the 70s to really fuck public education, to make people not learn and everything, because they realized that people knowing stuff makes you question things, and you can't have that. They learned a strict lesson from what happened in the 60s, man. These fucking Republican fucks, when they got the beatniks and the hippies of the 60s, they really didn't like it. They learned a lot of lessons, and they changed a lot of things because of it.
Yeah, the evolution of religion it's an adventure. It's someday there will be historians like Kip Davis, who will be on tonight's Bad Science Sunday, coming up next after this show on my Atkinson's channel. The stream will take you there
Yeah.
by the magical power of YouTube teleportation. There's my plug for my, like I said, community building. But yeah, it evolves. It's evolving right now. There's the crazy out of control evangelists who are like one evolutionary fork. And then there's the super progressive, ultra accepting Christians who fly flags like this over their churches. And that's another fork. And in the future, one of those, or possibly a different one, will be like the mainstream of the faith, and the other will have fallen off and be forgotten. But because it's evolution, we don't know for sure which one it'll be.
Just like
It's
the
pretty
poor
neat.
Ebionites. Poor Ebionites. All those poor early Christians that believed all these very different things about Jesus. Well, I love the Ebionites. The Ebionites were a sect of Jews that believed that Jesus really was the Messiah. And what you had to do was eschew your wealth, and you actually had to be nice to people, and you had to like do good things. You actually had to, you know, be Christ-like and not just Christian. And then Christians won, and they're all pricks. So those poor Ebionites, the world could have been such a better place if only they'd won, and not the ones that said, hey, do whatever the fuck you want and just pretend that it's okay when you say sorry to the sky. Just do what I say and give me your money, and then we're all cool, right?
Yeah. There's a few people who call it Paulianity because it's not really Christianity. Because Paul's whole thing is pay no attention to what Jesus said, because Paul never met Jesus. He was like, just praise Jesus's name and give me your tithe, and it's all good, you know?
There's a big part of me that would not be surprised in the slightest if Paul actually never really believed in Jesus or any of that stuff, and what he was actually doing was trying to protect Judaism from what he thought was a cancer that would take over his religion and destroy it. Because he's like, I really hated him, I really hated him. And then he goes, I don't agree with anything that the disciples, and I don't agree with Jesus, and I go against Jesus all the time. And you should do what I say, and you don't have to be a Jew. Don't worry about being a Jew. Be a Gentile. It's fine. You don't have to be Jewish. And it's like, how are those things not connected?
Yeah, you know,
He's just taking the
it's
bullet for the
wild.
Jew.
Yeah, because
That's what I
like
think.
the actual followers of Jesus who stayed in Israel for hundreds of years after, that weren't Paul's followers, that they were just heretical Jews. They were there for hundreds of years while Christianity spread, and they're like actually doing, you know, Jesus was Jewish. They were following that tradition with the extra caveat of Jesus, you know, coming and rising. Maybe he's the Messiah, maybe not, whatever. But like, they were still Jews, at least until they got run out for their heresy a few hundred years later, pushed out into the desert. And then strangely, a couple hundred years after that, these fellows with big swords come riding out of the desert with the name Jesus on their lips, led by a dude named Muhammad.
To be fair with Muhammad, though, Muhammad is a very different thing. Muhammad's not really that connected, though, because Muhammad was much more trying to rule Mecca and try and get the taxes that were given to the temples inside of Mecca and use the Jews in Medina to achieve such ends, and it just got out of hand. And I never think for a second that he really gave a shit about Jesus or any of it, because he's like, hey, I don't want to pay my fucking uncle any fucking money, and fuck these people in Mecca. I don't want to pay them either. Do you know what? I was on the road, and my oldest wife said I should have a vision, and then I did have a vision, and then I said, hey, I'm Allah's final fucking thing, so let's go fuck that temple there. And they went, do you know what? Yeah, fuck Mecca. Let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing says. I mean, obviously, the whole thing with the flying on the Pegasus and splitting the moon and yada yada. It's the same sort of shit you hear from like Greg Locke today, you know. But that whole I'm the final prophet business, I'm like, oh, nothing says grift more than that, you know.
Hey, well,
Don't believe anyone else. I'm the last.
If it
An
worked
angel
for Jesus,
told me so.
Why not Muhammad? And it worked. So, do you know what? Actually, it worked really, really well. It works really well. They're the two biggest religions going. Grifting off your immediate predecessors actually has a great deal of success.
It's true. I mean, a lot of the grifters around today are doing the same thing. They're like, Jesus, 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 but also I'm a prophet. Really? You know how the Bible said you can tell a false prophet if they get predictions wrong. But I'm just deleting all the wrong predictions I ever make. I'm erasing those videos, so, you know, I never get one wrong. Send me your
Hey,
money.
it's also nice when you can reshape reality around you and you go, my prediction wasn't wrong. When I said the world was going to end, did you not see the inflow of migrants and how gays can do stuff and there's trans people everywhere? It is the end of the world. We are, in fact, in the last days. So, in fact, I was actually correct the whole time. And people go, oh my God, he is. I best buy his food buckets.
Right? We need the vitamins.
Yeah.
The supplements. Otherwise, our frogs will turn gay.
We can't have the frogs turning gay. Although, to be fair, that was actually kind of true.
Well, yeah. Do I have that? I thought I had that clip somewhere. Somewhere. Where is it? I'm sure I've got some clips stored in StreamYard, and some of them are. Yeah, here it is.
They turn the friggin' frogs gay.
There we go. It takes me a minute sometimes. What can you do?
It's all right.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
Oh, that reminds me
how my buttons are.
That reminds me of Discworld so hard. Million to one chance to pop up 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, it's such good. We're back on Discworld though. We're bringing
I'm a
bringing
big
it full
Discworld
circle.
boy, so it happens.
Be the turtle. I actually did when I gave that order to the AI. I was trying to get a flat Earth on its back, but it never did. Rubik's, you did not. I don't think. I don't know. My brain is mush. It's been a rough day, for a lot of different reasons. But we are starting to run low on time. Maya will be starting up fairly soon. Before we get into the plugs and bits and things, hell, half our audience is already over there. I just pulled up Maya's stream so I can see when Maya's actually live, so I know when to end the show. And there's 10 people over there already. I was like, holy crap.
Happens.
I mean, it is one of the best things on YouTube,
It's just a shame that it's on at fucking 2:30 in the goddamn morning for me. So I watch it for about an hour and I'm knackered. I'm too tired.
I know. I always have to get up so early. I'm not working tomorrow, but it's because I'm having it's dental surgery, but it's like my whole fucking skull. So it's going to be a rough day. Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Oh, related note, I should have mentioned this at the start of the show. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on next week because my mouth is going to be a big mass of open wounds, and it might take me a minute to heal before I can get on camera and talk. I should have said that before. This may be a minute, but I expect I'll be back on for next weekend. We'll see how it goes. We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be a trip. But yeah, before we go, tell people where they can find you, what you're up to, how to send you money, all those fun things.
So I do videos every Wednesday over on the Shaken Fist. Right now, I'm doing videos about inspiring philosophy, trying to make up stuff about the flood, and actually how it isn't a global flood. It's actually a bunch of localized floods over different periods of time. So really, that's okay. But tomorrow, this Wednesday, actually, I have a music video coming out. I've done a parody music video for Hadaway's "Don't Hurt Me." Oh baby, don't hurt me, don't hurt me no more. Well, I'm doing that, but it's Yahweh, don't drown me. Don't drown me no more. You know what I mean? So I'm doing that because, I like doing some parody music and stuff, and I stream every Sunday, and I start to have more people on. So you should come on sometime, and we can make fun of Ken Ham or something.
Yeah, it'd be neat.
Yeah, because I did YouTube years ago, and that's how I did it. That's how I started off making fun of Ken Ham, and then it stopped for a bit, and now I'm going to make fun of other things because I'm better now.
Yes, we get it out of our system or something. But were you there?
Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I was there because God made me before everything, and I've existed through all time. So in fact, I was there.
You prove I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still say it's a cyclic universe. So whatever.
The wheel of time turns, ages come and go, yada yada yada. If you live long enough, the present will come again.
Yeah.
It's I like this. An atheist is a man with no invisible means of support. I mean, it's a little gendered, but I enjoy the sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Oh my. All right. So now we're at time, but Maya is never actually on time. Usually it's either the guest's fault or the weasel's fault or something like that. So we're in overtime while we wait
just
for
the ether
the other time.
against everyone,
Yeah.
making y'all wait, and making us talk more while we fill time, while we wait for people, because the universe is against all of us because we're all evil, dirty heathens. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's true. It's true. We're all sinners, and I don't know. Probably we're wrong. I don't know. I don't get to play with buttons very often. It's my life. That's not true. When I have my buttons up. So in order to do my buttons, I have to connect my computer to the Wi-Fi instead of the hardwired internet, which you normally want for better connectivity. And then I have to turn on a separate program and then set it to the Wi-Fi and then open a thing on my phone. And it's a whole thing. And yeah, but I happen to have it up today.
I had a thing that did that on my computer for D&D. It did all that, and it did it pretty easily. And you didn't have to have separate computers and different shit. I can't remember what it's called, though, so it's no help. But
it's all good.
Stuff like that, look for stuff that might help for D&D, because D&D has a lot of stuff like that, for doing live and stuff. It's mental. The amount of stuff I've used for streaming from D&D is mental.
Maybe. I don't know. I keep getting sucked into D&D because, I love it so much, but I never have time. It's rough. Oh, Spooky is warning everyone over on Maya stream that I'm spying. How dare you, Spooky, giving away my secrets and things. Or I don't know.
I love D&D. I never get to play because everybody says you have to DM. And I'm like, okay. Nobody else wants to tell a story. It's only ever me, so I never get to play.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I've come up with some. They always made me DM in the middle of the night after I'd been up for 36 hours, and I'm like, you know what? You remember the movie Tremors? The city's got sandworms now, bitches. What are you gonna do with your long sword?
To be honest, that is some of being vindictive is very fun being a DM. So you have to not do it because it'll become the whole game. Somebody says something, and you go, and funnily enough, this happened. And they go, well, why? And you go, well, you said it. You've put it out there, and now it exists.
Mm-hmm. you know the secret, the manifesting thing. You've put it out into the universe. Now it's come back to you. That's just how. I don't make the rules. I mean, I do, but I don't make the rules.
I don't make the rules. I just live comfortably beneath them. Well, play comfortably beneath them, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's. Maya's finally on, so thank you, Zach, for joining. It's been a trip. Thanks everybody for coming. And we're still getting new people dropping in. Hello, Michael. Good to see you.
It's very true. Never trust a smiling DM.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the most concrete rule and best advice you will ever hear about playing D&D. DM smiling, it's a bad time. Yeah, exactly. You've done exactly what they wanted.
If you're watching on YouTube, stay tuned. The stream will take you right over to Maya's. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, come join us on YouTube because it's more fun over here. Something. But as always, remember, you don't have to watch out for the evil smiling DM hiding in the clouds and plotting to burn you for eternity because you are better than religion. Good night.